Yo, what is up guys, Omia from iTech Everything and welcome to this new video. It's time for the Apple event. Apple just dropped their iPhone 17 lineup, Apple Watch and the new AirPods Pro 3 at their awe-dropping event, and it's the first time I'm attending it in LA while I'm in the same time zone as the Apple event. Feels great to have to do this in the morning without having to stay up at night. So hopefully this video is an amazing one with better energy than I usually do because it's during the day. And without any further ado, let's get into everything that's new and everything you need to know about Apple's awe-dropping event from September 2025. Apple started off the event by introducing the new AirPods Pro 3. While they look mostly the same, and when I first saw them, I thought these were the same exact design, Apple claims that they've improved the design to better fit the natural structure of the ear canal based on some research they've conducted by analyzing over 10,000 ear canals. Let's believe them for that. And they also have a new foam ear tip that has foam infused inside the ear tip, so hopefully that yields a better fit for more users. There's a new custom multi-port airflow architecture that allows for better bass response, better audio in general, and better vocals, which is a great improvement to see. And active noise cancellation gets a huge upgrade. It's up to twice as better as the previous generation of AirPods Pro, and it's up to 4 times as better as the first generation of AirPods Pro. And Apple claims this is on par with some of the over-ear headphones. So they claim that this is over-ear headphone levels of active noise cancellation on an in-ear earphone. And they claim that this is the best active noise cancellation on any AirPods yet. So I'm guessing that also includes the AirPods Max, but I'm not entirely sure. They've also added a new gesture that allows for live translation, which is a pretty cool feature that they introduced at WWDC 2025 this year. But I believe it's new to the AirPods with these new AirPods. And now if both the people next in front of you and yourself are wearing AirPods Pro and are speaking in different languages, then you will be able to communicate with them in the language you prefer, which is a really cool feature. Although the AI Siri voice is not that great in my humble opinion, but if it works, it works. If it enables more fluent, if it enables better conversations with people, then I'm all for it. The active noise cancellation blocks the person in front of you's actual voice and replaces it with the ANC voice, which is pretty cool. And if they're not wearing AirPods Pro as well, you can hold up your phone and it'll translate what you're saying for them, which is very well implemented. And now the heart rate sensor comes to the AirPods Pro 3. This is something we saw on Apple's Beats headphones or earphones a little earlier this year, and now it's coming to AirPods Pro. It supports up to 50 different workout types, and they even demoed a person just going on a run with just his AirPods without an Apple Watch, which is interesting to see. But they claim that you can now do calorie tracking and general workout tracking just from your AirPods, which is pretty cool since AirPods are definitely more common than Apple Watches. They say that they've made a new on-device AI model for heart rate tracking and calorie tracking, but let's be real, this is just a regular machine learning model that's always been on Apple Watches. So it's nothing that groundbreaking, but it's just that it's now inside your earphones, which is a new place to put the technology we've always seen. These do come with the sizable boost to battery life with a 2-hour boost, which is 8 hours up from 6 hours with active noise cancellation enabled. And if you're using your AirPods Pro as hearing aids, then you'll get up to 10 hours, which is, I believe, 4 hours more than the previous generation. So that is also a huge upgrade that improves accessibility. AirPods Pro also now have IP57 dust and water resistance alongside the same starting price of $249, which is pretty good, and they'll be available on September 19th, just like everything else at this event. And talking about everything else, they also introduced the Apple Watch Series 11. Now, this feels like a really small upgrade, but they start off by mentioning this is the thinnest Apple Watch ever. I don't believe there is a sizable difference or any difference at all in the form factor from Series 10, although I haven't verified it. but they never mentioned a new design. So I'm guessing they're equating the Series 11 with the Series 10 and still calling it the thinnest, which holds the claim. But these are mainly minor improvements for the Series 11 this year, but there is a much more stronger Ion X glass on top, which means that even if you go for the base model with the aluminum frame, you get a much more durable build. It's up to twice as scratch resistant as the Series 10. And I'm not sure if there are any upgrades to the sapphire glass when you get the titanium model, but these upgrades only apply to the aluminum model. And they've also introduced possible hypertension detection on the Apple Watch. So while it can't actually give you a reading of your current blood pressure, it will actually be monitoring at the back for over time to detect whether you have high blood pressure tendencies or not, which is a good feature that can help detect undetected or undiagnosed hypertension. It's still awaiting FDA approval, but it'll be available in 150 countries and regions to start with. Sleep scores are also now added with a score and a classification alongside tips to improve your sleep. I'm not sure if this is a feature that's exclusive to this year's models or if it's something that's coming up with watchOS 26, but we have it now. There are now new liquid glass watch faces for the Apple Watch, and 5G makes its way to the Apple Watch for the first time. The Apple Watch now gets up to 24 hours of battery life, which is a huge upgrade, and we still get the titanium and aluminum frames for the same exact price as before. Also, just as a side note, it definitely felt weird watching the Apple Watch section without Jeff Williams. He stepped down as the chief operating officer earlier this year, and I've just been so used to seeing him during the Apple Watch section for so many years now, it just feels weird to not see him there. But anyways, back to the Apple Watch SE. The Apple Watch SE now gets the latest S10 chip, which I believe hasn't changed much over the last few years, but hey, it's an upgrade. And instead of giving it the new design with a thinner display, they've given it always on display and the LTPO functionality, which is a weird change that I didn't expect. I was hoping it would get a newer design without the always on display, but I guess this makes more sense from a business perspective. Apple Watch SE also gets the gestures for double tap and pinch and flick from the Series 9, and it also gets wrist temperature detection for retrospective ovulation estimates and sleep apnea detection as well as sleep score detection. You can also now play media through the speakers inbuilt on the Apple Watch without having to connect AirPods, which is a nice feature if you ever need it. And it also now supports on-device Siri, which is a nice upgrade. It's available for the same price in Starlight and Midnight, but it comes with 18 hours of battery life and 2 times faster charging capabilities, as well as a 4 times more crack resistance display. The Apple Watch Ultra 3 is also here, and honestly, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is just the Apple Watch Ultra 1 with a new color, so this is basically Apple Watch Ultra's first actual upgrade. And we're seeing a brighter display and a faster refresh rate when in the always on display mode, and it goes as low as 1 Hz, I believe. But this allows for the second hand to be ticking even in always on display mode, which is pretty nice. Again, the Apple Watch Ultra also gets 5G connectivity, but for the first time in an Apple Watch, the Ultra now has satellite connectivity, which makes a lot of sense because the Ultra is meant for people who go on hiking and trips like those where internet connection is probably going to be not that great, so satellite is going to be really helpful. Again, the satellite connectivity feature is free for the first 2 years with the Ultra 3, but I'm pretty sure that was also the promise with the iPhone 14, and I don't believe Apple has started charging users yet, but I'm not entirely sure. And the Ultra 3 gets a whopping 42 hours of battery life, which is insane. And they also mentioned that the frame for the Ultra 3 is now 3D printed, which is quite interesting, and I'm not sure how that works, but I'm really interested to know how it does, because that sounds right up my alley, and 3D printing and Apple Watch Ultra seems pretty cool of a combination. Finally, moving on to the star of the show, the iPhone. We have a different lineup from usual this year, starting with the iPhone 17 base model. So the iPhone 17, while it looks mostly the same as last year, is actually physically larger than the previous model because it gets a 6.3-inch display and thinner bezels up from a 6.1-inch display. So it's going to be the same size as the 16 Pro from last year. And finally for the first time, the base model iPhone now has Pro Motion, which is 120Hz and always on display. It's just an amazing feature to have, and I'm so glad it's finally here. It is more of a convenience than an actual feature, but it was long overdue and much cheaper phones have been getting it for a while, so I am glad it's here. The screen now has 3000 nits of peak brightness, which is the highest yet. And the durability of the phone has also been improved with the new Ceramic Shield 2, which is supposed to have 3 times as much scratch resistance as before. I'm pretty sure they also introduced the Ceramic Shield upgrade in one of the previous versions, right from when they introduced it the first time in the iPhone 12, but this is the first time they're actually giving it the 2 nomenclature. The iPhone 17 also has a better anti-reflective coating, which I'm really excited to see in person whenever I do get the chance to see and hold the iPhone 17 in my hands. And it gets the A19 chip with the 3nm process and a better neural engine and increased memory bandwidth with a 6-core CPU and, a 6-core CPU and 5-core GPU. It also gets better battery life, up to 8 hours more of video playback up from the iPhone 16, faster charging, and now on the back we have a 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera alongside the 48 megapixel normal camera, which is a really nice upgrade. The biggest upgrade though is to the front camera, and this is an interesting but slightly controversial one in my opinion. Now they have a square sensor with ultra-wide capabilities which enables center stage for the front camera. If you're not familiar with center stage, it's the same feature that's available on iPads. The only issue with center stage is because it's an ultra-wide camera, the quality of the photos it takes is pretty bad. So unless they've made some really big changes to how this technology works, I would expect regular selfies on the new iPhone to go slightly lower in quality instead of it being an upgrade. But from a technical standpoint, the features it enables are pretty cool because not only does the frame adjust to accommodate more people as they come in your selfie, but you can also take landscape selfies or portrait selfies regardless of the orientation because now it's a square sensor. So you don't have to rotate your phone physically to take a landscape selfie. You can just take a selfie and convert it from landscape to portrait anytime you want, which I think is really impressive. And the base model iPhone 17 keeps the same starting price but goes up to 256 gigabytes of storage, which is a great upgrade. My phone with 128 gigabytes of storage is struggling right now to even open any single app. I'm just out of any storage left and I can't get it to go down. That's why today's video is actually being filmed on an actual camera for the first time and not an iPhone. Interestingly enough, if you're one of the people who pays attention, the iPhone 17 section of the event was actually filmed at night, which is usually something they only keep to the 17 Pro. It's usually that the 17 introduction or the base model introduction is filmed during the day and then the Pro introduction during the night. But this time they just ended up doing all of them at night, which was an interesting choice, something that they don't usually do every year. But if you're someone who didn't notice that, now you know. And after the iPhone 17, there was no iPhone 17 Plus this year. Instead, the Plus is being replaced by the iPhone 17 Air. Now, I am really excited for this new thin iPhone, but I'm just a little upset that the Plus model is gone. So you don't really have something that's actually in between the Pro and the base model. This is just a different phone altogether, and I'll get to why in just a second. But the way they introduced the iPhone 17 Air was with the classic Johnny Ive style video, and now with an Indian Johnny Ive. But it was super cool to watch that video live. It's the throwback to most of the old Apple introductions that they would do for their big products, and it's so nice to see they're bringing that format back. The iPhone 17 Air, they say, is the most durable iPhone ever, which is an interesting fact for an iPhone that's so thin. I'm definitely excited to see how it holds up in real-world testing, but for that bold of a claim, it better hold up. The frame for the iPhone 17 Air is a glossy or polished titanium finish, which looks just like the stainless steel from a couple of years ago, but it has the durability of titanium and also the lightweightness of titanium. And it's also ceramic shield from both the front and back, which is an interesting choice, and I wonder why they hadn't done it for so long on other iPhones and why they haven't done it on the base model iPhone 17. But that's something they're gatekeeping to the iPhone 17 Air and the Pros this year. But the iPhone 17 Air's form factor is impressively thin at a striking 5.6 millimeters. And this is down from the previous thinnest iPhone, which was the iPhone 6, and that was 6.9 millimeters. So this is a big jump in thinness. And like I mentioned earlier, while the iPhone 17 Air replaces the iPhone 17 Plus, it still has that 6.5-inch display size. And it's available in the space black color, cloud white, light gold, and sky blue, which all look really pretty. If you remember how I mentioned that it is a completely different phone altogether and it's not like a bigger version of the iPhone 17, that's because it only has one camera and it has the chip from the Pro iPhone, which is the A19 Pro. And to improve efficiency, it now has Apple's first Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and Threads modem, which they call the Apple N1. And they're bringing an improved version of the Apple C1 chip from the iPhone 16e and calling it the C1X for modem capabilities on the iPhone 17. So it's better performance than last year's iPhone 16 Pro, but with much better power efficiency. And this basically means that most of the chips in this iPhone are Apple proprietary, which is interesting to see, and this is something that Apple has been building towards for so many years, and this makes up for the most power efficient iPhone ever. They've also moved up all the internals, including the silicon, to the top of the phone, which is why you see the bar at the back, and the rest of the space is all taken up by the battery. And for the same reason, the iPhone 17 Air is eSIM across all countries and not just the US. Even though they've done so many things for efficiency for the iPhone 17 Air, I'm still a little worried about how efficient it is, given that they just introduced a new MagSafe battery pack with a thin profile at the back. They say that with the battery pack, it has up to 40 hours of video playback, but I don't really know how much it is without it. They never mentioned any numbers, but I hope the battery life isn't too bad even without the MagSafe power bank. They do have some pretty cool frosted glass accessories to go along with these new colors, as well as a bumper case with a lanyard that you can put around you. It looks pretty cool, but I'm not sure how many people will end up using it. The iPhone 17 Air gets the same center stage camera from the iPhone 17 for the front side, but for the back side, it only has a single camera. And while it is the same one that's on the base model iPhone 17, it misses out on the ultra-wide camera. And because of this, there's something that I realized is that they can't capture spatial video on this new iPhone 17 Air. So you can't capture the spatial memories for your Vision Pro on your new iPhone 17 Air, which is an interesting choice considering they literally redesigned the iPhone 17 or iPhone 16 last year just to accommodate spatial video capture. However, unlike the Plus models from last year, which started at $899, the iPhone 17 Air that replaces those Plus models starts at $999, which is a sizable jump, but it does come with 256 gigabytes of storage, but it's still a jump from the previous model. And finally, coming to the iPhone 17 Pro, it now has a unibody design made completely out of aluminium. And yes, they are moving from titanium to aluminium this year, which is technically a step back given titanium was supposed to be the pro material and aluminium the cheaper one. But now even the most expensive iPhone comes with an aluminium frame. But now, because it's made of aluminium, it's so much better for thermal conductivity, it's much lighter and more durable. Apple has also made an interesting choice with the design this year. There's now an extended plateau at the top, which is what they're calling it apparently, and that is what houses the internals of the iPhone, right from Apple Silicon to the cameras to basically everything, and the rest of the space is now taken up by the battery to allow for the biggest battery ever in an iPhone. There's also no longer glass covering the entirety of the back of your phone. It's only the section that needs to allow for wireless charging that's made up of glass now. And instead of glass, it's actually ceramic shield. So it isn't actually glass. So there is no glass on this new iPhone. But because this new aluminium enables up to 20 times more thermal conductivity, this makes up for 40% better sustained performance on the new iPhone 17 Pro, and also the best battery life ever in an iPhone. But given the fact that they're making so many changes for thermal performance, I am really starting to worry for the A19 Pro in the iPhone 17 Air, because that still keeps the old design with the titanium frame. So I am guessing that the A19 Pro in the 17 Air is going to be heavily throttled, even though it is not a binned version of the same chip. But because of the thermal limitations, I am pretty sure we'll start to see people running into throttling limitations on the A19 Pro right from day one. And while I'm talking about the bigger battery on the 17 Pro, I'd also like to mention that Apple is finally making use of the eSIM only models in the US. So instead of putting like a piece of plastic instead of the SIM module on the US models, they're actually giving US users 2 extra hours of battery life if they opt for the eSIM model, which is the default in the US. And everywhere else in the world where there is an actual physical SIM, you'll be losing out on 2 hours of battery life. And the extended plateau on the back now houses all 3 cameras, which are 48 megapixels. And the telephoto camera now has a 56% larger sensor. And Apple calls it the equivalent of 8 lenses. Not sure if I'm buying that, not sure if you're buying that, but that's what they're advertising it as. ProRes RAW video shooting is also coming to the 17 Pro, and that'll be supported on Final Cut camera and Blackmagic camera apps, and with the developer API coming shortly for other apps to implement it as well. They introduced something called Genlock, where you can put up like an array of cameras at the same time and film together. I really don't know how this technology works, but the demo they showed was really cool, and I'll put it up on screen right now so you can see how it works. But the insane amount of iPhones they showed to capture that shot was pretty impressive, and that feature looks like something that industry professionals could definitely make some use of. And they're replacing fine woven with something they called tech woven, which is an interesting new material. I mean, honestly, just give us fake leather at this point, because I am really not a fan of these new designs. I just preferred the leather look. It's okay if it's vegan leather, but as long as it has that nice look that leather usually has, it's just genuinely a nice feel. And they're charging the same price as leather for these new tech woven and fine woven cases, so I really hope someday they do bring back like vegan leather or something, but for now you just have third-party cases.
There's also no black color on the iPhone Pro this year. It's only deep blue, cosmic orange and silver. But cosmic orange has been something that people have been waiting for a long time.
The prices for the Pro models are actually increased this year. So the base model now starts at $1,099, which is interesting because for the last 8 years, the iPhone has been at the same iPhone Pro has been at the same $1,000 price bracket. To be fair, it is now 256 gigabytes for the base model, so it is technically the same price as last year's 256 gigabyte model, but it's just that the entry bar or the entry price for the 17 Pro has now been raised. And Apple will gladly take more money from you on the Pro Max model with a new 2TB model. All of the products announced at this event will be available on September 19th, and they'll be starting pre-order for some products today, which I believe is the Apple Watch and AirPods, and iPhone will start pre-orders this Friday. Let me know if you're getting any of these products, if you're going to be going in person on September 19th and trying to get your iPhone in the morning, or if you're going to be pre-ordering home. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the iPhone 17 lineup, the new Apple Watches, and the new AirPods Pro 3. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm hopefully going to get back into YouTube if this video goes well and if I enjoy the editing process. This is my new dorm setup at USC. and I've been having a fun run so far. Like I've been here for 3 weeks and it's been pretty good so far. I'm excited for you to see what I do next. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one. Oh, also, did you guys notice that they shot all of these shots at Apple stores this year instead of like different venues in California? I think that was pretty cool. I wonder if anyone saw them shooting while they were at the Apple stores for filming.